Today I learned Romans were known to create tombs for their dogs and gave them epitaphs to remember them by. One such inscription read, "I am in tears while carrying you to your last resting place as much as I rejoiced when bringing you home with my own hands 15 years ago."
We get names like Rex and Fido from those Roman pups. Alright, but apart from the sanitation, the medicine, education, wine, public order, irrigation, roads, the freshwater system, public health, and dog epitaphs, what have the Romans ever done for us? Roman epitaph, "Here lies the best kicks. Loved their dogs like I love mine. That was good to learn, thanks op. My heart, ouch."
Today I learned Mr. T had T-cell lymphoma. He said, "Can you imagine that cancer with my name on it? Personalized cancer." Fortunately he was able to beat it and is cancer-free.
Mr. T didn't have cancer. Cancer had Mr. T and got lucky. I pity the fool that tried to frick with Mert's T-cells. Of course he beat it. Mr. T is the champ. Can't nobody do nothing about that. His real name is Terry Lymphoma. My son has this. It's 3 years of chemo for him. Pretty freaking rough for a 13 years old. Edit. Thanks for the replies. Holy cow. If anyone is interested in sending money to the GoFundMe set up for him and his mother, send me a message. His mother and I are not together, and any help for her while she is missing work to care for him is absolutely appreciated. I'm sending an extra $400 a month on top of child support to help out.
Today I learned of the Great Whiskey Fire of Dublin that killed 13 people in 1875. None perished as a result of smoke inhalation or burns. All victims died of alcohol poisoning by drinking the whiskey flowing through the streets.
Best part of the article. It is stated that caps, porringers, and other vessels were in great requisition to scoop up the liquor as it flowed from the burning premises. And disgusting as it may seem, some fellows were observed to take off their boots and use them as drinking cups, reported the Irish Times on June 21. FYI, while being distilled or aged in barrels, the ABV of whiskey is considerably higher than the ABV it is intended to be consumed at. As an example, Canadian whiskey is distilled at 70 to 90% ABV and rum is 8,595%. Compare that to a normal bottled whiskey at 40%. Me uncle died at a whiskey distillery in the Highlands of Scotland. Terrible accident. He slipped and fell into vat of 12 years old Speyside. Witnesses say he climbed out twice to urinate before drowning. Edit. For the purists. According to the Illustrated London Times, crowds of people assembled, and took off their hats and boots to collect the whiskey, which ran in streams along the streets. 4 persons have died in the hospital from the effects of drinking the whiskey, which was burning hot as it flowed. The Irish know that fire just adds more flavor. I actually was told this story while doing a tour at Teal and Whiskey in Dublin. One important detail left out is that they stopped the fire by making a wall of horse shit. The whiskey flowed through, and the fire smoldered out on the poop. So people were drinking whiskey that had been filtered through horse shit.
Today I learned Nintendo pushed the term video game console so people would stop calling competing products Nintendos, and they wouldn't risk losing their valuable trademark.
I can believe it. At the time, Nintendo was the most widely used Atari on the market. Companies can, from the outset, encourage us to use an alternative generic name. Sometimes this works. Nintendo pushing the term games console. Sometimes it almost works. Xerox's fondness for the term photocopying. And sometimes it fails miserably. Who has ever referred to the once trademarked trampoline as a rebound tumbler? If you want people to start using a different term, it's a good idea to not have that term sound like a meme campaign. Every tablet is still an iPad to a lot of people. It's like, my dad calls everything a Coke, and so I'm asking for a Dr. Pepper. He still says Coke at a restaurant. Like he doesn't get that. When you say that, you get Coke. In Ireland we don't call it a vacuum cleaner, or even a vacuum. They're all Hoovers, after the brand.
Today I learned that an anti-seatbelt advocate, Derek Keeper, once wrote that Uncle Sam is not here to regulate every facet of life no matter the consequences. He later died after being thrown from his vehicle while driving without a seatbelt.
Big Seatbelt knew they had to silence their biggest detractor. That's the sole reason why I never advocate anything. Didn't the same happen to an anti-helmet motorcyclist in Florida? Dale Earnhardt Sr. refused to wear the Hans device, which was designed to prevent the type of injury that he sustained when he died at Daytona in 2001. In Vanuatu, seatbelts are optional by law. I choose to wear mine though.
Today I learned that for 4 years, Hugh Grant pretended to be his own talent agent under the name James Howie Lee. He communicated with people via a fake email account and even disguised his voice with a Scottish accent on the phone. "I saved myself an absolute fortune," he said.
So he was acting. So when do we hear about the time he and his agent get invited to dinner at the same restaurant and he had to keep running to the bathroom to change disguises? He's actually everyone in Hollywood. The whole thing is smoke and mirrors, and Hugh Grant saved a fortune if he negotiates well. I saw him talking about this on Graham Norton. He is so funny, such a great interviewee.
Today I learned in 1988, Israel Kamaka Vivul called a studio at 3 a.m. and asked if he could record because he had a good idea. The studio owner said yes even though he already closed the studio. 15 minutes later he recorded Israel playing his ukulele and recorded Over the Rainbow in one take.
This song makes me happy and sad at the same time. I'm not ever sure how that's possible, but that's what happens. The last couple of years I've tried to offer more grace and accommodation to people. Stuff like this makes me glad I am. Maybe someday that extra mile will mean something special. If not to everyone, then to someone. How is it that they were still at work when he called at 3 a.m.? I got married to this song. My daughter listened to it as an infant. I feel like it's the soundtrack to the happiness in my life. I used to listen to this song before competitions to stay calm. I played this song at my dad's funeral. This song will forever have a piece of my heart. Thank you, Israel.
Today I learned not long before his death, Freddie Mercury, confined to his bed, got to see an advance copy of The Wayne's World scene with Wayne and Garth headbanging to Bohemian Rhapsody. He loved it and approved of the song's use in the film. The movie, in part, helped launch Queen's comeback in the USA.
I think if I could go back in time to see any band live in concert, it would have to be Queen. Listen to Queen and realize there was no pitch correction back then. Freddie was actually that spot on consistently. He even doubled his vocals with so much precision that it sounds like a phasing effect. He could repeat the exact series of notes with almost zero deviation. Probably one of the greatest singers in history. And a freak of nature. Oh, many. I've disconnected the timeline of so many things. I was alive and a teenager for both events. I actually think of Wayne's World coming out years after the passing of Freddie Mercury. But there is only a 6-month difference between Freddie's death and the release of the movie. Wow. Brain timeline lurch. I can almost recite from memory both Wayne's World and its almost equally good sequel. Along with Hook, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and The Sandlot, Wayne's World was one of the first movies I owned on VHS. Still in my top 3 favorite films. It's amazing that Queen needed a comeback on the charts. My dad was big into Queen and Bowie. Seeing Wayne's World was just my first introduction into movies and rock being intertwined.
Today I learned Wrigleys was originally a soap company that gifted baking powder with their soap. The baking powder became more popular than the soap, so they switched to selling baking powder with chewing gum as a gift. The gum became more popular than the baking powder, so the company switched to selling gum.
WTF am I supposed to get with my gum then? I just buy Wrigleys for the paper wrap that comes with it as a gift. It won't be long till they finally ditch that chewing gum, I presume. This is the original context of "the customer is always right." I am probably wrong on this, but I feel like it was so much easier to be successful back in the day. I wonder if their soap and baking powder only lasted for 5 seconds before you had to go back for more.